Nico got the number 1 pick in the draft. I can't stop laughing at this. Cooper Flagg is at the very least going to be drafted with that pick, probably by probably by Dallas. I am convinced that Mavericks fans would rather lose. They would rather lose with Luka than win without him. But I also think this creates a very interesting situation because having Cooper Flagg is not really on the timeline of success that this team is on, right? I'm not exactly sure what they do. I know what I would do, but I am curious what your thoughts were when you saw it was either going to be Dallas or San Antonio. San Antonio would have been just absolutely insane if he wound up going 2 out of 3 lotteries are a blank person lottery. And if they had won 2 of them, that would have been nuts. But now he goes to Dallas, which is, it's funny.
I mean, you could say, Bomani, that the Dallas Mavericks won the jackpot in that Cooper Flagg sweepstakes on draft lottery night on Monday night. I would argue that someone who hit even a bigger jackpot is conspiracy theorists.
Yes.
Yo, the number of text messages that I got when that went down was on the level of when Luka got traded, in just like, are you kidding me? Like rigged, all this stuff that people were hitting me up being like, I can't believe the NBA would allow this to happen. And in fact, more people were saying that they made this happen. And I don't know how to respond to that because look, as the host with Amin El Hassan, the Basketball Illuminati podcast, we entertain some of these ideas because the NBA has had conspiracies happen before. We're looking at Jonte Porter was just a year ago where an NBA player was actively trying to fix his bets and was getting guys in a group to win those bets on millions of dollars being put down or being potentially to be won. And he was arrested just not a year ago. We had the Tim Donaghy scandal. We've had the Joe Smith scandal. We've had the Brian Colangelo scandal. There's a lot of reason in the NBA to look at the league with very cynical and skeptical eye. But the Dallas Mavericks trading Luka Doncic after a finals run and then being rewarded a few months later with the number 1 overall pick with the 1.8% odds. It is crazy, Bo. Like, it is fueling the fire of every cynical sports fan. I'm not even talking about NBA fans. I'm talking non-NBA fans who are looking at the NBA and say, I told you so. That's rigged. And unfortunately, like, Bo, it looks really bad, but how does the NBA rig this? Like, I don't understand the mechanism by which they could do this.
Hold on. Not only do you raise the question of how does the NBA rig it, the explanation as to why completely escapes me. What is now, first of all, let's talk about the mechanism of the plan, right? Because for this, was it a conspiracy that they came to after the fact, right? Is that what happened? Because otherwise, you're telling me the plan was, I need you to trade Luka to LA for what is peanuts, and then I need everybody on your team to get hurt, okay? And then we need to get them into the lottery. And then, if I am not mistaken, they had the same record, I think, as the Bulls, and it was a coin flip about which team got which odds. And so Dallas, I think, won the coin flip, and they got the set of numbers that wound up being what got him there. We are here and people think it's a conspiracy because people are fucking stupid. There's no other way around it. I've looked at, and what makes me so mad about how fucking stupid they are, I had somebody tell me that by me saying it wasn't a conspiracy, that I was trying too hard to sound smart, right? This motherfucker's out here playing 4 goddamn whatever kind of dimensions. There it is. Chess. I'm the one that's trying too hard to be smart when you are trying to explain to me why there is a conspiracy involving all of these actors. And every year, media people go and actually watch the lottery and see how it is done. And people are so positive. Of course, it's too obvious that this would happen, but nobody can tell me why the league would want to do this. They say, well, to keep the Lakers relevant. Yeah, because LeBron James wasn't doing that. What are you talking about?
Bo, I would say, regardless if it is rigged or not, and I'm not saying it is, the NBA does have a corruption problem perception, like the perception of corruption with the league, that the instant that this happens, everyone thinks that the Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks and Nico Harrison, they all conspired to make this happen. Whether it's true or not, I think there is truth in the fact that there is an image problem here that the NBA has to face. And it has legs with the Jonte Porter scandal, that it wasn't a football player. It wasn't a baseball player. It was an NBA player, not just any NBA player, an NBA player who was the brother of a famous NBA brother, a brother of a famous NBA player, Michael Porter Jr. So you can understand why a league that seems to continue to trip over itself with these scandals, and it wasn't an NFL official that was caught betting on his own games and potentially throwing those games and fixing those games in Tim Donaghy. It was the NBA official. It wasn't a baseball umpire who was doing it. It was an NBA guy. So I do think that there is a separate issue which the NBA has to face, is like Rick Welts, the former NBA league office member who designed the All-Star game, who designed the draft lottery, and goes on the record to the Washington Post, Ben Golliver. Did you see this quote from Rick Welts, who's now the CEO of the Dallas Mavericks? He had said on the record to the Washington Post that this is surreal that they won the draft lottery, given the fact that he designed the draft lottery and was in the room for Patrick Ewing in 1985. And he has been dealing with conspiracy theory stories ever since. So this is something that is going to tail the NBA for as long as they're around, because of all the scandals that have happened. However, you're operating under the pretense that the Dallas Mavericks snapped Kyrie Irving's ACL on purpose to tank those games, and then won one of those play-in games, and then lost against the Memphis Grizzlies in the second playoff game or play-in game to make sure that they get a playoff spot, and the coin. All of those things had to happen. So I guess the question is, when did the league, in your opinion, step in to fix this? Because the timeline of events, you can't say that they forced the trade and then they weren't even in position to be in the play-in at that point. So I don't know. It is crazy. It is crazy, but that's the league, a league that has been scarred by scandals before. And unfortunately, this is the image problem that the NBA has.
I think part of it is the league, but another part of it is just things that are fundamental to basketball. Like before it was the NBA that was wrought with these sorts of allegations. It was college basketball 50, 60, 70 years ago. And the truth is, whether it be a player or an official, one person can have more of an effect on a basketball game than any other game. Like you and I have had plenty of conversations that we won't have in front of people about some of these matters, about folks and officials whose names we will not talk about here, right? And not the usual suspects either, right? It's easy because one guy can do so much to change an outcome in basketball to where you'll never be able to shake it in that regard. The other thing I think that hurts the NBA on that is, I think I was talking to Ethan Strauss about this. How many players full on believe, for example, that the league will stop them from winning a series? Like this is a thing that players 100% believe.
LeBron James went on the Pat McAfee show and suggested that the league rigged the draft lottery so that Cleveland would win it. LeBron James just did this a few weeks ago. The most famous player in the league, arguably in sports in America, just went on a national show on ESPN, a league partner, and was saying, yeah, you saw what happened in 2003. And he was wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and then goes on Twitter last night on X and does laughing emojis right after, just a few weeks after he went on Pat McAfee and alleged a conspiracy theory to have Cleveland win the draft lottery in 2003. So it's the calls coming from inside the house. I did a story on TomTheFinder.com last year, how Andre Iguodala, potentially a future Hall of Famer, a finals MVP, a guy who is leading the NBA Players Union, went on a podcast a year ago, Bomani, and said he believes that referees fix playoff games. This is not some sort of like minority niche opinion. This is the loudest voices in the sport, the most powerful voices in the sport, believe that it's not on the up and up, or at least are suggesting it. And that is maybe more interesting than the fact that the NBA is systemically more vulnerable because of what you said, is that one player can potentially fix or impact the game in ways that NFL, 11 players on the team, 22 on the field, and baseball They can't possibly have as much impact and influence than one basketball player. But when the players are saying it, Bo,
Right.
why wouldn't the fans follow suit and say, if they're saying it, man, we're not crazy out here, are we?
No, I think that's a fair point. I just think that people need to actually walk through some of the things that they are talking about, right? Like, I'm just saying, a league that rigs its lottery doesn't let San Antonio win 3 of the biggest lotteries ever. That's stupid.
Bad
Okay?
business right there. Yeah.
A league that rigs its lottery. Now, Cooper Flagg to Dallas. This is the point I made to people. It was only a couple of months ago that people were trying to tell me a conspiracy theory that the reason that Luka got traded to the Lakers is because the Adelsons were really just going to move the team out of Dallas, a top 5 metro market, if I am not mistaken, to Las Vegas. So at once, the conspiracy had people ready to move the team out of Dallas, but now to prop Dallas back up, they got to get Cooper Flagg there. Now, if you want to tell me that somehow Dallas paid everybody off because it's somewhere written in the city charter that their best basketball player got to be a white man, hey, maybe we can talk, right? They will go, if Cooper Flagg is what people think, they will have 40 straight years of white excellence at the masthead of that team. You know what I'm saying? And look, I know a lot about Dallas. They don't mind. You know, every team, jealous Danny Ainge is of that. Red Auerbach is like, you got to be kidding me. You know how hard I tried to do that after Bird retired?
Man, the Cooper Flagg story, where does Nico go here? Because you saw the video. I'm guessing you saw the video of the Mavs draft room where they're just going nuts after they win the draft lottery. And I would say after watching that, I'm like, they're not trading that dude. They're not trading that dude.
I'd send him to Milwaukee. Let's figure out how do we get Giannis would be my question. I think there are more questions about the outcome for Cooper Flagg than is advertised.
Well, he's 19, right? So he's 19. So if you're going to win championships with that dude, it's going to be 5-6 years down the line.
That's point number 1, right? Point number 2 for me is he, and this is not an insult, right? Is he a super duper high level number 2 guy on your team? The part that gives me reservation about saying that is apparently he wrecked shop against all the pros getting ready for the Olympics, right? Like that is, I think, the big thing that carries me through, because from watching him, he seems to be a big guy that's got handles and does a bunch of things, not really sort of twitchy. Now, the Jokic era is showing us that we perhaps overvalue athleticism, right? Totally fair point to make all the way across. But Giannis is the second best player in the NBA right now. And I know his better days are behind him, but I think he's still got some pretty good days right here. If you got a team with Anthony Davis and Giannis that also kind of lets Anthony Davis now play the kind of basketball that he actually wants to play, and keep one Lively or Gafford, and you've got those guys, it does turn into a no-fly zone out there, right? I see arguments for it. I don't know. I would see what Milwaukee had to say. Sorry, I know I interrupted you. I'm sorry. But I would see.
That's great. Because then you're arguing that the reason why Nico Harrison was jumping for joy like he literally won the lottery, right? is because he knew that was Giannis, not Cooper Flagg. Like he knew, like I got the top position in the Giannis sweepstakes. And I thought going into the draft, Bomani, I thought if Houston or San Antonio jumped to number 2, they would get Giannis. It wasn't that they got the number 2 pick, is that they got Giannis. Because you could take the Dylan Harper pick and you could put a couple young players, whether it's Stephon Castle or whether it's Reed Shepherd, Jabari Smith, and the first round picks, and you send them up to Milwaukee. But then Nico Harrison got Cooper Flagg. And that is, of all the GMs who would think about, hey, the New Balance guy, is this the right guy for me going forward? We already know how important Nike is to Nico Harrison and all of the clients that he's had down the road, but he's going to get the opportunity to draft not a Nike guy and build his franchise around him. Man, it just makes me think, look, this isn't crazy to think that they would trade the number 1 overall pick. In 1992, the Orlando Magic won the Shaq sweepstakes, and then 93, they got Chris Webber. And what did they do, Bomani?
Traded it.
They traded him. They traded down to number 3, get Anthony Hardaway. I was watching this clip last
and 3
night.
first-round picks, if I'm not mistaken.
And one of them turned into Vince Carter, but then Golden State traded that pick for, I think it was Antoine Jameson, right?
Yes.
So, look, they got 3 first-round picks, Todd Fuller, Vince Carter, and I want to, was it Keon Clark? It was like, it was 3 successive, like 20, it was 1996, 98, and 2000, whatever it was. One of them was Vince Carter and Anthony Hardaway. So they get Penny, and you're wondering to yourself, like, would Nico Harrison do the same thing? Is, A, I really like C. Webb. I really like Cooper Flagg, but I want to win right now in a position that, in my mind, he says defense wins championships, and Giannis Antetokounmpo is ready right now to win a championship on the back of a defensive-minded team than Cooper Flagg is. So before, I thought San Antonio, by winning the number 2 overall pick, they were going to get Giannis Antetokounmpo next to Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox. Now I'm not so sure. I don't know where Nico Harrison goes from here, but man, trading Cooper Flagg is a bonkers idea.
They might burn the place down, to be perfectly honest. That is the whole reason he can't do it, is they're really mad. They're still really mad. This made them feel a little bit better. Dallas, man, I'm just telling you.
But it's a heat check for Nico. It's a heat check, right?